welcome back. We are so happy that you joined us again here at Vida Edtech. My name is Dr. Latasha Castellala, and I am so happy to be with you again and spend some amazing time with my co-host, Marcos Naves. Naves, what's up? How are you doing, sir?
Hello, hello, hello. Another exciting episode of Vida Edtech. Super hyped up today. We have an amazing guest. We have a lot of things happening all around us, but can't wait to hear his story and express to the world his greatness.
That is what we are here to do on Vida Ed Tech, being the intersection of education, culture, and elevating the voices of so many people who are taking traditional and innovative opportunities to educate the world. I just can't wait to get into this conversation. As you know, we are out here doing all the amazing things, so please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to look at that Instagram page. You can check us out on LinkedIn, and connect with us, talk with us, share, tell us your feedback, how you're liking the show, and what you want to see. But let's jump right into tonight. Tonight is going to be incredible. I am overjoyed that we get the privilege to really focus on the theme of sneakers, education, careers, and culture. Today's title is The Education of Sneaker Culture, and we are pleasantly and just overall ecstatic to be joined by the one and the only DeJongh D. Wells. I am overjoyed to welcome this gentleman into the space. We have known each other for 20 years, met and I call it many moons ago, doing many different things in education from the higher ed perspective. But I want to give you a little bit of a snapshot into this incredible innovator, educator, and really culture protector and elevator. So DeJongh Wells is a sneaker anthropologist. Born and raised in St. Thomas and St. John, Virgin Islands, he's the co-founder and creative director of the Obsessive Sneaker Disorder. And he's consulted with tons of companies. I mean, let's drop these names: Adidas, New Balance, Puma, Nike, and Reebok, just to start naming a few. Give it up, give it up. He has curated the Out of the Box Rise of Sneaker Culture exhibition, and this was one that was actually organized by the American Federation of Arts in the Bata Shoe Museum. It first opened up in Toronto in 2013, and it has become a hit all over North America and Australia. Listen, D is also an author, writing a book of the same title. Has been published on Rizzoli. Am I saying that? Rizzoli?
Rizzoli. Hmm.
Rizzoli Electric. Oh, that's listen. I'm sitting up here getting all my things getting on. But listen, D teaches soul. I call it social studies classes. And soul being SOLE. And it's a focus on educating people about the footwear industry, and really about the different types of careers that exist, which really excites me about really supporting innovation in careers that you love and you enjoy. He's a sought after speaker and facilitator. He's given talks about sneakers really all over the world, and he really emphasizes and focuses on culture, relationships, gender identity, economic justice, race, and history. His work has been recognized um, by being given the key to the city of Worcester, Massachusetts. And in 2023, the Social Studies Community Academy was established, that being in Dumbo section of Brooklyn, New York. I cannot be more overjoyed to introduce to some, to welcome to others, my big brother, D. Wells. D, welcome to Vida Ed Tech.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. More importantly, it's great connecting with educators and storytellers like yourselves because that's what it's about. It's these gems that we're going to share, we're going to discuss tonight, and today as a whole will hopefully take root in someone's spirit, and it may just motivate them just a little bit to try something new. Maybe it's a career shift, maybe it's pursuing, why they've been obsessed with music or why they've been obsessed with sneakers or fashion, and very well turn that into a career, ultimately something that doesn't feel like work every day. So I thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
I mean, let's talk about where did this love of
Mm.
sneakers and culture, like, where did it come from for you? And how did you make that decision to say, I'm just going to go and I'm going to do this?
It's everything that I've been able to do. Really stems from where I was born and raised, and like you said, in that beautiful introduction, everything comes from being born in the Caribbean. The U.S. Virgin Islands is home. Literally commuting every day by boat from St. John to St. Thomas, a 20-minute ferry boat ride to go to school. That's where my love of sneakers started because I had to wear a school uniform and I had to change from my sneakers, or I was able to differentiate myself, stand out from my classmates and schoolmates by wearing sneakers. But I had to change them at the beginning of school because otherwise I would get in trouble for not wearing black or brown shoes. And watching my parents play tennis at the then College of the Virgin Islands, now the University of the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas campus, they were both wearing Adidas sneakers, Rod Laver and Stan Smith. So that's where my eyes were drawn. My eyes were drawn to their simple white and green sneakers. And then from there, it just really became an obsession. And that's why, we created Obsessive Sneaker Disorder. That's the name of the company. That was, that is the name of our podcast. That's everything that is rooted in everything that we do. And then social studies, we developed this educational kind of track from the podcast. We started social studies in 2011, and just last year, like you said, we opened the actual academy in Brooklyn, New York.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Um, D, I was wondering if we could talk a little bit more about that academy.
Hmm.
You know, the education that's happening there, especially New York, Brooklyn. I mean, being the hub of the sneaker culture. I mean, New York City, the capital of a lot of things happening, and sneaker culture is running a lot of things here. But as far as how do the kids embrace this idea of sneaker culture? How do students how do students embrace and welcome this idea?
It's really special because Brooklyn, New York, was the first place that I lived outside of the Virgin Islands. So Brooklyn's always going to be second home base, so to speak. Particularly Fort Greene Park, Clinton Hill, going to the old, Albee Square Mall, which was like going to a fashion show, and just walking down Fulton Street. I mean, I
Chris is
jokingly
going
tell.
crazy because
I
he
know
relates. He
exactly.
relates.
He recognizes all these places. I mean, I used to like literally hang out at the Albee Square Mall, and I never knew who I would see, and I loved it because I'd run into Biz Markie, I'd run into Big Daddy Kane, I'd see LL Cool J, I'd see MC Light, and these are all the rap superstars that I grew up listening to, buying their cassettes in St. Thomas, and literally walking around with my Walkman. And now I'm in Brooklyn, New York, being able to see them, but also see what people were wearing. What were people wearing? They were wearing sneakers, like sneakers. And we were talking 1991 when I'm in the heart of it. I mean, to be able to jump on the train and travel all throughout the city, going from Brooklyn to the Bronx, going to Fordham Road, because I heard that this particular store in the Bronx on Fordham Road had these certain colorway Air Force Ones. Or I was buying technical, sneakers and hiking boots at Paragon Sports, in Manhattan. Or or even going to parts of that I shouldn't have even been in, parts of like Red Hook, Brooklyn, that I remember my boys were like, "Yo, I don't know if you really want to go." I'm like, "I need to get these sneakers," and lo and behold, here we are now in 2024, but in 2023, establishing the academy there. Um, New York it's like a runway. I mean, it's truly the melting pot. I mean, so many people from all over the world, be it from, of course, the Caribbean, South America, into even Asia, all want to go to New York. So you get that cultural experience. And that's why sneaker culture is so big there. But now because of the age of the internet, because of social media, we're being influenced by various pockets. I mean, I see what's happening in Singapore right now, where there's brands that are considered old school legacy brands that are coming back that are big in Singapore that I haven't caught on here yet. We're talking brands like Diodora and Alessi,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And those were big. Those were big in the 80s with tennis, like, or Lecoq Sportif is coming back. Well, I knew about Lecoq Sportif because of Arthur Ashe wearing
Mhm.
Lecoq Sportif when he played tennis. Rest in peace, one of the greats from Richmond, Virginia. Um, and then Will Smith and the Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff wearing Lecoq Sportif. I didn't know who that brand was back in the day when I was watching them come up, but then I got to know it because of a tennis player, and I see what they were doing, bringing fashion, tennis, and music, hip hop together. Um, so the academy is really about teaching people about the footwear industry, and not just to be a consumer, to actually be a creator. Like, I tell people all the time, nothing in this world, like, it's good to work for someone, but if you can figure out something, be it even a side hustle, you have your 9 to 5, but then have your what? Have your 5 to 9 as well. Do
Yeah,
something else in the evening. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
you need to feed the baby.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the programs we have at Latinos in Coding is design and deliver an NFT sneaker.
Oh,
So
love it.
this world of Web 3.0 is here, and it's shaking a lot of industries. And I think the sneaker industry is about to get shaken up, with Web 3.0. So that being said, where do you see tech playing a
Mm.
role with the sneaker culture, and where do you hope it goes?
That's a great question because it's one that all the brands right now are questioning as well. They're asking what's next and how can we be at the forefront leading the charge. And one of the biggest things that we're running into, or they're running into, but I say we because I am a part of the culture as well, is what designates or what makes a product authentic or not. Authenticity, certificate of authenticity. So now, is there a way to use NFC chips in a sneaker or product to verify that it's a legit product, and then to show the history of where it was made and maybe who it got passed along to, maybe bought and sold. Like, for example, if I have a sneaker and I say have a Reebok 5411, aka the Freestyle, and I buy it, but I give it to Dr. Lala, I should be able to transfer that information to show that I bought it at store A by
Hmm.
me, but I gifted it to Dr. Lala, and now she is the owner of that sneaker.
Mm.
What if she then hands that sneaker down to a child or a niece? We should be able to show and track how many hands that went through.
Yep. Yeah, that's
That's
the
the
power of the
real,
blockchain.
and
Absolutely.
that's really important nowadays because the fake sneakers, and I call them fake sneakers, they're getting so good that it's hard to the naked eye to
Yeah.
show a real one versus a fake one. Like, how do you know?
Chris is showing up his
Chris is showing
sneakers
the
with
Freddy
fake
Krueger
ones.
dunks.
Fake
Yes, the
ones.
Freddy Krueger dunks. Like, those sneakers right now, like, to the untrained eye, someone will see those sneakers and say, "Man, Chris, you're wearing a $3,000 pair of sneakers." Well,
Mhm.
and again, to the untrained eye, unless you were to have him off his feet, look at the inner tag, and know what to look for, it's so hard to tell the real from the fake. So that's one of the things. Like, we literally have a master class on being a
Mm.
creative in this new space, in this new economy, and now more than ever, because of the great reset, aka COVID,
Yep.
you have to figure out, okay, if something else happens, how are you going to support yourself? How are you going to put
Mm.
food on the table, pay your rent or mortgage, and keep your lights on, the basic necessities.
Yep.
And the only way you can do that is, again, by having your job, but then also having a business, small business, a side hustle, whatever you want to call it. So we talk about that a lot at the academy.
I think one of the things that I love about, as you're talking about the the visionary thoughts around the academy is not just taking something that you love and doing something like tinkering with it, but really educating those who decide to come and learn in the space of how to take it and monetize it. And I think
Right.
that's such an incredible and important skill set that youth and honestly the young at heart like myself need, because the world has changed. And I love how you called it the great reset. I mean, I just want to drop a quick statistic for everyone. Did you know that the sneaker market right now in the United States and really globally is $79.2 billion? That was in 2023, and there's expecting a 5.5% growth over the next basically 6 to 7 years.
Right.
So I mean, for me, I think about the rise of sneaker culture I mean, listen, I'm going to date myself as I'm a 90s kid, but in the 80s, watching sneakers grow,
Mhm.
really, really being showcased by, like you said, rap and hip hop artists, really urban fashion. Tell me, what do you think really helped the trajectory shift from just local neighborhoods like by where I'm from, an urban epicenter, I mean an epicenter, Brooklyn, New York, even LA. How do you think it became this industry that is so massively loved all over the world? What was that key, or let's a few of the key indicators that help it become this global phenomenon?
One of the biggest shifts was the broadcasting of and cable television because
Mm,
I mean, growing up for a long time, and I was just mentioning to someone earlier today on another call. I listened to baseball games with my father and grandfather in the Virgin Islands. So we would listen to Yankees games, Dodgers games, or Atlanta Braves games. It wasn't until we got cable television, and we're talking the mid 80s. And then when this great show called Yo MTV Raps came about, that was a
yes.
game changer. That was, I mean, when I say like that was able for me to visualize now these rappers, to see these music videos that I would envision what they would look like, or I'd look at, magazines to see pictures, but now I actually could see them. I could see again an MC Light, a Big Daddy Kane,
Mm,
Third Base, the Skinny Boys, De La Soul. I mean, just like it was amazing. And then of yes, and Video Music Box
yes.
was a game changer. I mean, Uncle Ralph McDaniel. I mean, g- he was doing it and has consistently been doing it, but that was local in New York. Me
Yeah.
being in the Virgin Islands and seeing Yo MTV Raps, that was again a game changer. You have now all these visuals flooding us, right? They're coming into our homes. And we knew every day, like literally, it was like almost like how we used to wake up on Saturday morning to watch Saturday morning cartoons. Now we
Yeah.
can check in every day. I was getting my fashion sense from what I was seeing on Yo MTV Raps. So
Yeah.
I was seeing the polka dot movement by Kwame. I was seeing the flavor unit and the native
Mhm.
tongue movement. I was getting, the Public Enemy with Chuck D. But then also when Fab Five Freddy did go to, the West Coast and go interview NWA,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, now I get to see parts of the world that I haven't visited yet,
Yeah.
but now I wanted to go there. So that was a big thing. Like, so cable television, 24-hour programming TV was amazing. Um, and then news media in print started getting better. I mean, you have Sports Illustrated did this huge article, and the cover of the magazine in 1990. It was "Your Sneakers Are Your Life," where they actually wrote about people getting jacked, robbed, and ultimately some people, unfortunately, were being killed for their sneakers and starter jackets. Like
Yep.
that made my parents and my family a little nervous about the
Mhm.
sneakers that I was wearing and my other cousins and other, siblings and stuff. Um, because it was happening, but it wasn't publicized all the time. Now this is on the cover of Sports Illustrated. If you look at that picture to this day, it's an Air Jordan 5 along with a starter jacket. I mean, two iconic brands that have impacted. I mean, everyone wanted a starter jacket at some point. Didn't matter. I mean, you had to pick your choice. Maybe you wanted Georgetown Hoyas, maybe you wanted the Raiders, or maybe you wanted the
North
Yankees.
Carolina was
The
big. North Carolina
Bulls,
was huge.
that Bulls, that
The
Chicago
Bulls.
Bulls was serious.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The
So
quick. Oh, go ahead,
yeah,
please. I'm sorry.
no, no, after you.
So I was gonna ask, because you mentioned MJ and obviously the influence of athletes to the sneaker culture is huge. You know, what do you think was bigger or played a bigger influence on sneaker culture? Hip hop or athletics and athletes?
Man, that's a really good question. And I'm not going to try to straddle the line here, but it was the perfect marriage of both, because
Mhm.
you had the hip hop artists that wanted to be ball players, and then you had ball players that
Yeah,
wanted to be
would be
hip
hip
hop
hop.
artists,
Yes,
right?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
So you truly had that crossover. Like when I think about the Michigan Fab Five going to Michigan,
yeah.
the
Mhm.
way that they wore their uniforms, the black socks, they were the first to
Yes.
wear the Air Flight Hirachi, which didn't even match with their uniform, but everyone saw what they were doing. I mean, they were Public Enemy, NWA, Two Live Crew in the form of a basketball team.
Not
And it was amazing to see. So you had that all together. But then you had this phenomenal player out of North Carolina, who was born
Mhm.
in Brooklyn. I always tell people, yes, North Carolina claims it, but he was born in Fort Greene Hospital. Michael Jeffrey Jordan, he changed the game, because what Dr. J was doing and Magic and Bird, he took it to that next level because Nike was willing to literally bet the house on him. And I encourage anyone to see the movie Air. That tells a
Yes.
very good story about how Michael Jordan ended up at Nike and eventually creating, the
Mhm.
brand Jordan or Air Jordan brand. Um,
yeah.
but music played a huge role in it. I mean, the songs from the 90s, all the way through early 2000s,
Yes.
hip hop, fashion, sports. I mean, they all go together.
I mean, I can't help to think about Nelly's Air Force Ones and how the
Oh,
impact that
Listen.
had on the whole game. But I know for one thing is for sure, we are gonna have to, Dr. Lala, we're gonna have to figure this out some way to bring D back because we're gonna have to bring Chris from behind the camera. We're gonna have to bring his son onto the show, and we're
I
gonna
love
have
it.
to have a panel sit down on sneaker
Yes.
culture, and let's talk a little bit deeper about it because this is amazing. This is amazing. Not, I mean, on so many different levels, because it's just pop culture.
mm,
What this means for our
Yes.
kids, what it does for education. So, I
Yes.
know we're sort of winding down, but I do want to just talk about the education piece and
absolutely.
and all of this because, you know, uh, uh, that's a huge part of this. It's a major part of
Mhm.
this whole thing. So, you know, where do you see that intersection?
Mm.
Education, sneaker culture. What's going on there?
Well, sneakers could be used to teach every subject to elementary child all the way through graduate program, and it's really become, I tell people now, it's not just about STEM, it's about STEAM. You can't forget the arts. It's about the
Yeah,
science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. You can hold up a sneaker and you can talk about medial and lateral side of that sneaker. You could talk about pounds per square inch. You could use that sneaker, and that's exactly why we created social studies. And I say we, my co-founder and brother and confidant, Sean Williams. We use sneakers to teach. We talk to students, and again, from elementary all the way through to corporate and companies, to use that sneaker to teach them about STEM and then ultimately STEAM. And that's what I think now with education. I'm the product of a public school teacher. My mother was a public school teacher in the Virgin Islands for 30 plus years. Teachers now can use sneakers, and guess what they're going to do? They're going to connect with those young minds, and they can change just by not only wearing them in the school, but also saying, hey, what do you think of this sneaker? Okay, how much do you think this sneaker costs to make? Let's break it down. There's mathematics in there.
yeah,
What's the story behind it? What's the design inspiration? Right? Again, and then also the real technical sides, be it a low cut like a Kobe, or high top like a air command force. You could talk about all these different things, and ultimately, what you're doing is you're teaching. It's just with a different frame. It's a different framework. But guess what? The students are listening. They're going to pay attention. They're going to be more invested, and they're going to be like, "Oh, okay." Even setting up a competition on entrepreneurship. Guess what will happen? You have someone create a company to market and design a product and sell it. Okay, have them do the market research. They're
You can
already
even,
doing it.
yeah, you can even bring it into phys ed and have those kids test out
The
the
product.
prototypes and things
Yep.
like that. So I mean,
They
you
can
know,
make them. We could bring
yeah,
in cobblers and show them how to actually make the
love it.
sneakers and make a sample. So there's so many there's so many touch points. There's so many areas of crossover on purpose, though, because it is about STEAM. It's about education. It's about knowledge. It's about discovery. It's about storytelling. I tell people like now, if you can, to talk to your aunties, uncles, abuelas, just get the stories, because that's going to help tell you where you come from and where you're going. That's so important.
I'm so glad you said that, Dee, in acknowledging the arts perspective. This is something that I do at work, and I
Yeah.
have a fantastic teacher who's actually one of her projects is students actually creating sneakers and just the innovation. So, Miss Fenton, I'm giving you a shout out. It's the most, I think it was one of the most revolutionary projects I've ever seen, where they actually trace their own shoe and then they create a shoe based on climate change. On one
Mm.
side of the shoe, it looks like what happened before the impact of climate change. On the opposite side, it shows what happens. And they do the research as to what has happened, what may have caused that climate change, according to the story that they're telling based on this place in the world. And so I love how you highlighted the fact that it does create this beautiful vehicle to educate students about so many things and really connecting them to some real life examples of all these careers. Like, who's talking about a cobbler? Like, who even has that conversation? How many of our children even know what a cobbler actually is?
Mhm.
So it really does help to bring pieces into play. Listen, Dee, I mean, it's official. You have to come back to the
Absolutely,
podcast.
I'll be more
We
than happy to.
just scratched the surface. I don't even know
absolutely.
how to say thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on, and for just being a beacon of light in this space. We are going to get that panel discussion. Listen, I need everybody out there. If you are interested in this, if you've got thoughts, wonders, family, friends who are interested, go ahead. Make sure that you put some comments down there. Tell us what you want to hear so we can build out a dynamic panel designed to address and highlight and elevate what we've learned here about sneaker culture and what we're going to continue to explore. Listen, D Wells, everybody, please give it up for D. So excited that we had you and we made these connections. Oh, absolutely amazing. I really listen, Marcos. Thank you. As always, I mean, the conversation is just getting started.
Of
My
course.
mind is swirling. I have like a good 15 more questions to go, but we will definitely bring it back.
We may have to do part two and a part three. We definitely have to get Chris on the other side of the camera for this one, um,
Totally.
because I know he's dying to jump into this so many different ways. But you know what? This is just the start of a beautiful, beautiful relationship I see happening here on a lot of different levels. D, I tip my hat to you. The idea that you're using sneakers to teach is amazing. So I can't wait to go deeper into the conversations. And thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you again for having me. It's been an ultimate pleasure. So looking forward to part two.
Listen, everyone, thank you for joining us on Vida Ed Tech. Like I said, make sure that you subscribe to our Instagram channel, our LinkedIn. Check us out on YouTube and share it with a friend. And tell us what you want to hear. Make sure you drop it in those comments. Make sure that you follow us and know that the best is yet to come. If you think that this is amazing, get ready. The ride is about to take off. We thank you again. I'm Dr. Latasha Castellala. Thank you for joining us. Chris, thank you for always manning the camera and being the best fam. On behalf of myself and Marcos Navas, we wish you an amazing day and a prosperous future. Make sure that you give somebody a smile or a hug. You never know who needs it. And we'll see you next time on Vida Ed Tech.